welcome to today's video. But now we're going to talk about another documentary I saw a while back, and it was about Kim Kardashian, actually, who now is studying law to become a lawyer to help people who didn't get a fair trial. But right now we want to talk about Kim Kardashian, and I have to say, when I heard about the documentary, it was on German TV, I don't know, a year ago or something like that, a while ago. I was very surprised. I have never watched any episode of any Kardashian show. I can say that very proudly. And I didn't expect her to have that kind of depth, to be honest, but I'm positively surprised and I love it. I love strong women who want to help others. This is amazing. And so I watched that documentary, and it seems like she started getting into law after she was robbed. That kind of situation put her on a different timeline, you could say, where she created a new purpose that she wants to help others. But what I noticed watching this documentary, knowing about manifestation, it was kind of like a red thread. Many of those women, they were mostly women, and I have to apologize, I don't remember their names anymore. I could have done that little research right now, but I just clicked the record button and here I am. But those ladies, most of them, I realized, had endured some kind of violence in their childhood, and many of them even sexual violence, like rape. I think one of them was actually sexually assaulted, molested by, I think it was her grandfather, and she ended up defending herself after years of that molestation, and she killed him in defense. And there were others like that as well, who had never had any problems with the law, and then killed someone who actually sexually assaulted and rape. It's more than assault, it's rape. And many of them had endured that for a while. So when I was wondering about why would that manifest in being in jail for way longer than, like, not getting a fair trial and evidence just disappearing, and they get like lifelong jail for defending themselves, that doesn't make any sense, to be honest. So I was wondering, what could that have been? And the answer I found was actually in that sexual assault. Remember, and again, rape, it's just a word that's not a nice word to use, but it's the right word. Imagine you are someone who has never felt safe as a child because someone in your family, someone who's that close to you, would do that to you. And then even though you defend yourself, why not getting off? Because the jury or the lawyer or the judge would see, yeah, that was self-defense. That woman has been mistreated, tortured so by such a long time. But the thing is, we manifest. So that woman or women, there were multiple women who had been in jail for defending themselves, for example, for a way too long, like lifelong sentence for defending themselves. Why? And what I got was that they were so scared, naturally, of course, so tormented, that their subconscious, that they just wanted to feel safe. They just wanted to be safe. And that was the signal that went out to the universe. I want to feel safe. And what place for a woman that has been raped by men? Some of them were raped by multiple men. And why? Because, again, this is not about blaming. And I know sensitive topics, so this is I'm never ever blaming someone. It's not about blame. But if you had that experience once and you haven't healed it, and that's a tough one to heal, I admit it, it is still, that fear is in your subconscious, and that fear, whatever's in our subconscious, would manifest again and again and again. And that why explains why often not every woman, so if that happened to you, it doesn't mean that it has to happen again. Very, very important. But please go to therapy, do your healing work, whatever you can, to get past that. That would be important. But you probably noticed that if a person, especially if that happened in childhood, they would say, yeah, that happened in my childhood, and then I had my first boyfriend, and that happened again, and then I had another man, and that happened again. So why would it happen again and again and again to the same person? I mean, that's not very likely, but it's still that trauma that has not been processed will unfortunately manifest in more trauma, because the universe does not discern between, oh, she didn't like that situation, so she doesn't want it again, or it would just read you still focus on that is something that is in your subconscious, and it would unfortunately in autopilot create more of that. So again, this is not about fault, because if you have been through something and that is not healed, it's not your fault that it's not healed yet. It is, as soon as you learn about manifestation, it's your responsibility to go seek help. Okay, it's a responsibility to take care of yourself, but it's not about fault. Very, very important distinction for me. But again, so this tragic thing happened, and these women just wanted to feel safe. They wanted to get away from men who did that to them. And of course, it's not like you get a checkbox. Would you like to go to jail? Check here. Or would you like to win the lottery so you can go to another country? Check here. That is not an option, right? So nobody checked here, yeah, I want to go to jail for a long time. That's just not plausible. However, the subconscious sent out the signal to the universe or to your higher self, and also the subconscious, of course. I want to be safe. I want to be safe. I need to be safe. I don't want men around me. And what's a safer place for someone who, for sexual assault, than probably a woman's jail? There are not too many men. There may be guards, of course. So that could be another thing. If you have not healed that big trauma, then of course there could be more assault when it comes to those men overstepping their boundaries in a big way. But again, your subconscious, that part of you just wants to protect you, and that was probably the safest thing. In that and again, creation is finished. You always have to remember that creation is finished. So there has always been that timeline where that thing never even happened. There has always been a timeline where that specific person went to jail. That always existed. Of course, there's timelines where that never happened, or the thing happened and she got off, because people say, yeah, she just defended herself. So if you can imagine that timeline must exist, so there is multiple timelines. However, that part of her chose that timeline that was available because it was the safest place that was available in that moment. And so there must have been a very, very strong fear, a very strong urge of just being away from that world where you were in danger, locking you up, which of course is nothing that the conscious mind probably would have chosen, but the subconscious mind, who just wanted to protect those women, so that part of themselves created that timeline where they were put in a safe place, where the evil grandpa or other men who have assaulted them and they're still alive, for example, have no access to. So this is how this would transpire. So when you are, for example, in jail, and it is a longer sentence that you deserved. I mean, if you have done something that you know is clearly wrong and you did it consciously, like, I don't know, plan a murder, of course jail would be the option you say deserve, right? But in those cases where it was really self-defense, I don't know if that would be considered to, in my opinion, not considered to be deserved. And however, so those women manifested that experience of being in a place where they were safe. However, years later, and many for them it would be like 20 or 20 plus years later, there is this lady, Kim Kardashian, who I admire for that, I have to say, who is looking into those cases. And so she got some of them off, which is amazing, which means that those women who have been in jail manifested themselves going to jail, of course, went through some kind of transformation as well. Maybe they grew so much that they learned so much that they didn't see what happened to them as a threat anymore, and the desire of being free was, after that time, grew bigger than the fear was that kept them locked away. And that is why they manifested that woman coming into their life to get them out. So they manifested both getting into jail, and they manifested being on that timeline where Kim Kardashian experienced that awful situation where she was robbed and held hostage for a while, or just, I don't think she was held hostage, but she had that experience and then decided to study law and to help those people. So they manifested going into that timeline where they would meet up with her, and because they were ready to get out, because whatever fear put them in jail, whatever situation, they must have healed that, at least in a way that their subconscious was like, yeah, now it is like safe out there. I put safe in quotation mark because I know when you have been to jail, of course, there's still some stigma on that. But yeah, again, something like sexual assault, there was more than one woman. That is the reason, reverse engineering, why they had that unfair trial. It was themselves creating that in order to keep them safe, because for their subconscious mind, it was the safest and probably fastest available option for them to get them out of that situation. But again, this is not about blaming anyone. I have to always feel like I have to make that clear. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just trying to explain. We do have the situation of someone being in jail, not getting a fair trial, and when you learn about the law of assumption, you just know that they put themselves there. And I'm just trying to find out why, because if you are in some similar situation, you can use this kind of knowledge to apply it onto your situation, so that you know, that you understand, and then you know what you have to heal, what you have to reverse in order to get out of that situation. And of course, I'm talking about extreme situations. I was talking about Madeleine McCain, that what happened to Britney Spears, like losing all of her sovereignty. It's something that is not very common, but maybe you have similar experiences, just not as big, not as strong, but still they may come from similar issues. So I think it's always important to understand how things are connected, because when you understand the connections, then you can go look back to look for the source that put you on a specific timeline, and then you can redo it or undo it and shift to another timeline. Well, anyway, if this helped you, please let me know in the comments. I would like to know what you thought about my video. Please check out my other stuff, and of course, I am available for personal coaching. And till then, I wish you all the best, okay? Bye.